Thank you for joining Conversations for College Success. Thank you to my current subscribers. And also, if you're new listeners, I hope you become a subscriber. And I'm talking today with Will LaRiccia, and we're going to talk about his college experience and then also what he's doing now in terms of education. So let's start with Will, why did you decide to go to college?
Well, education is so important. It really widens your opportunities. It opens the doors to new opportunities. I think it also teaches you discipline. So that was really important to see that growth over time in college, and it expands your experiences. You meet people from all different backgrounds, and it just forces you to look at things a little bit differently and see through things through different perspectives.
So now, what college did you decide to go to? And then what did you major in?
I've gone to a few different colleges and universities. My initial one for my undergrad was because I chose that university because of its expertise in engineering, which was my first field that I studied. And they offered, a concentration of the coursework that I was interested in. And then later on, I really decided once I was a professional, as an engineer, I wound up transitioning into education. And so I chose the university based on the way they were able to use my initial degree and transition it with the right
Mhm.
amount of coursework into the new degree in education. And then after that, I continued on to master's degrees, and I have two of those. And that was more than at that point based on convenience, because I was looking for a university that would allow me to get the coursework at the pace that I needed and maintain my original, my current profession. So I guess when I decided on them, they were all for different reasons.
Okay. No, very good though. And it makes sense that um that you would choose different universities for different majors.
Yeah.
No, you started in engineering. How did you get to education though? That's really interesting.
Well, it's it's always kind of been a second passion of mine, and
Mhm.
I thought I could bring a lot to the field based on my current, my original profession, because of my concentrations with math and other sciences. And so it seemed like a good next step for me at that time in my life.
Well, that's fabulous. And thank you for joining the field of education because so often people don't think highly enough of it to go into that field. And male teachers make a huge difference in terms of being a teacher and helping students to be successful.
Absolutely. It's we're the ratio is not, it's very small amount of men versus women. So it's nice to be able to, add that little component, especially for students that need that.
Agree, because I think education has always been seen as a field for women and not necessarily for men, but it makes such a huge difference in the role model that you become for the young men who attend school is important. And then they can see themselves even going to college where they might not see that if they hadn't seen you in your role. So that's great. So, what exactly do you do in the education system now?
So I work in a public school, a K-12 school district, and my focus right now is on um, taking the most needy students uh, early on in their math education and helping them close the gap, so that way um, they won't need any assistance as they continue on through their schooling. We know that early intervention is the way to go, and by providing that, it winds up actually saving the district money because they're not
Okay.
providing services 12 years, they get some really strong intervention early on, and both the student feels successful, and again, it also helps save the district money. Then the other component of my day is helping other teachers improve their instruction in math education. So it's really
Okay.
nice because I get to work with the little learners and the big learners as well.
That's fabulous. That's wonderful. And it's so needed. In addition to reading, math is one of the more difficult subjects for students. And I find it interesting. Believe it or not, I love math. I was a math major. So but I was unusual. If you talk to most people, they hated math. I was probably the only person who loved math. So
And and
kudos to you. And you are so important to help so many students to be successful.
along with that, it is really part of our passion and our work is to flip that script the script on that to really help people see, we would never, it's frowned upon when people say, "Oh, I was never good at reading," but people are happy to say that they were not good at math. And we really want to change that narrative because really what it meant is you probably didn't have the right educational experiences during your informative years on math. And so if we can do a better job now with the hard work, we won't experience as many people stating that they were never good at math.
I would agree with you because, again, as somebody who loved math, it was I think it was just as you mentioned, the teachers that I had, and the fact that I was willing to spend the extra time to try to understand it. Now, mind you, my favorite subject was algebra. Anything after that, not really. But but because of that background, I was able to get a degree in math, and that's quite frankly unusual.
Along with
So,
that too is mindset. One of the
mhm,
things that we realize in the past, people focused on the fixed mindset. Either you were good at math or you were not good at math. Everybody can be good at math. It's all about fostering the positive mindset towards math and then providing them with the good quality instruction. So that way everybody can feel satisfied and grow as a math learner.
I agree. Oh my gosh. See, you should have been available much earlier. When so many
Thank you.
students are saying that because it's but I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad honestly that things are changing. Because as someone who actually loved math, I used to hate people when people would say I hated math,
Mhm.
and then they would look at me like there was something wrong with me
Right.
because I enjoyed it. So, but now let's get back on track a little bit. Um, think about your college experience,
Mhm.
and one of the questions I want to ask you is, what did you enjoy about going to college? And it can be either or both universities that you went to.
I think, initially, with my undergrad, it was definitely, expanding my knowledge base and then taking responsibility for myself at that time as, becoming independent and responsible for my own success or my own failures. So I think that was one of the things that really helped me grow as a person, having that responsibility. And then another thing that I really enjoyed is meeting and making friends from all different backgrounds. You know, you grow up in whatever bubble you're in, and then all of a sudden you're meeting people from different backgrounds that have very different perspectives from you. And so you can learn so much from interacting with people and becoming friends with people from different backgrounds. And that's lasted, you have friends from college that last you a lifetime.
Right, absolutely. And you're really fortunate if you do have that because not everybody does, but most people do have a few friends that last them for a lifetime. It makes a huge difference in terms of the experiences that you share and the continued future that you hold, as well as you can talk about the things you did in the past and laugh about them. You go, I
Absolutely.
wouldn't do that again. Now, was there anything that um, you had difficulty with in college?
Um, I laugh because one of the things that I think, you either don't enjoy when you first go, especially if you go away to college, is the change in living conditions. So I think that was a challenge at first, because you're on limited funds, and so you have to compromise quite a bit when you first adjust, and then later on, I guess as I think about it. One of the challenges is learning how to manage, your studies with all these new
Hmm.
distractions. So,
Hmm.
when you're in, K-12, others are controlling the distractions as much as possible for you. And when you're away at college, you are in charge, and so you have to learn to say, make good choices that, again, going back to that, where you're in charge of your successes or your failures. So your decisions at that time, carry a lot more weight. And yeah, I think that was probably the one of the biggest things that at that time that really, helped.
No, no, no. You're absolutely right because not only in my own, but I've been interviewed and talked with other students who said they had to put stuff on a calendar so they wouldn't forget what their assignments are and what they need to do. And I remember when I was in college, I didn't go to every party that was out there because if I had, an exam or a final or whatever, I wasn't partying. I don't care whose party it was or what was going on. I had to pass that class. So
Yeah.
you do have to make those decisions. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, your world kind of opens up when to all these new experiences, but you still have to stay focused on the long-term goal.
Absolutely, which should be finishing college
Yes,
as possible. So,
successfully.
exactly, exactly. Now, you said that education was a secondary interest since you originally started in engineering. How did it become a primary interest? Because you would look at if you're in engineering, and most people look at it this way, oh my gosh, you're making a ton of money. Why would you ever change and move out of engineering?
So that was, I mean, a hard decision because my first year of teaching, my salary was literally cut in half. And so for me, while I enjoyed engineering very much, the area I was in, um, I needed to be accessible all the time to the job. And so many times I would be making plans or something, and then I would get the phone call or a text, and then that became challenging as I got older. When you're
Mhm,
younger, you have much more flexibility, and you don't mind as much. But as I got older, I wanted a little bit more stability, and so I was looking to see what profession would give me a little bit more stability. And stability
mhm,
means a lot of things there. Um, you know, when you're in the business world, depending on the situation, um, you could walk in today and everything's fine, and the next day you could be out of a job. So that's
mhm.
one of the parts of the stability that I didn't care for. Always knowing that is a possibility.
What I thought about when you mentioned, essentially being accessible, quite frankly, sounds like 24/7, and that's an issue, not just for you, but for a lot of people. An issue, like you said, when you're younger, it's okay, it's fine, but as you begin to get older, you wanna have days that belong to you and not, "Ooh, I got this call. Okay, can we put this on hold? I need to go do this and come back." So, that's a huge, um, issue that you're either okay with, and let's say if you're in the medical field, yeah, you really don't have a choice and you went to school for that, etc. But in almost any other job, nobody wants to be on call 24/7.
Correct. And so that was one of the reasons why I transitioned to education, because again, I wanted that stability there. And then also the stability of hours. And again, mentioning, once you're in education, the way the system, at least here in Ohio, is you have that seniority. And so you don't have to worry about having somebody there that maybe doesn't like you and can make your life challenging, or make you want to leave the profession. So there are a lot of safety nets in education. Some
Mhm.
people don't like that we have those, but I think it's an important piece for the stability of education as well.
Well, I do too, especially if you're a great teacher. You want those people to stay. You don't want them essentially chasing something else because the environment they're in is not comfortable or is not advantageous to allow them to experiment and do things that actually help students. So I
Sure.
absolutely agree as it relates to that. Makes a huge difference. Now, what I want to ask you to think about is back in college, what did you enjoy? And then the follow-up would be, what didn't you enjoy about college?
So I think what I enjoyed again is that really expanding world for yourself as you learn new things. You're growing, you're learning to be much more flexible. I enjoyed that where, trying new experiences, and associating with people that you would not have had the opportunity to associate
Mhm.
with in your initial environment. So I think that's one of the things that, without a doubt, I enjoyed the most. Um, I can't say that, again, there wasn't a lot that I didn't enjoy. Like I said, it was just the
Mhm.
transition to uh, a different living experience, maybe, and not everybody having the same standards of of what you want your living environment to be like. So,
Okay, no, fair enough, fair enough. So, with that being the case, now, what advice would you have for current college students? And then what advice would you have for recent college grads?
okay. So I think, you have to stay focused on what you believe you would like to do and give it your all. You want to make sure that you try to become the best at what you're going to do. I think that's definitely an important component. Um, and then another piece is develop discipline. So that way you can make sure that you know how to prioritize what needs to be done. You can build that work ethic to to um, to make sure you're producing the best quality product,
Mhm,
no matter what profession you're in. And then I think I would say think long term. It's really hard when you're
mhm,
young to start to think long term, but you
mhm,
really want to start to think long term. Where, what opportunities is this position or this company going to give me as I try to grow more? And do they foster that growth, that environment of growth? So you want to make sure as you're choosing your next
mhm.
steps, making sure that it's going to help you expand rather than stay stagnant.
Now, one of the things I hadn't asked you, and I do want to follow up with this, as an engineer, had you had an opportunity to do co ops and internships? And then when you went into education, did you have the same
So,
opportunities?
so as far as for my specific area of engineer, I didn't do an internship, but what the company did is, as I started the position, I was with uh, a senior engineer the
Hmm.
almost the entire first year
Oh,
working
good.
with them, and so that way I could learn all the specifics that I needed to, and slowly responsibility was granted to me for different aspects until I became the full on, engineer for that component.
Okay, very good. And then did you have, other than student teaching, did you have any kind of other experiences in education before you actually got into the field?
So, as far as our education goes, the student teaching is kind of the equivalent to the internship, and that's a really important piece to make sure that you choose to be in a place that is a good healthy environment. You want to make sure you're making the most out of your student teaching, because this is the first time you kind of go in looking at it from a completely different perspective. Everybody thinks they understand K-12 education because they went to school. It's very, very different when you look at it from facilitating that education. And so I think, I know when I was doing it, I had some options and I weighed them very carefully of where I wanted to do my student teaching. And I
Okay.
landed on a place that I knew was a forward thinking
Oh, okay.
environment, and not looking towards the past, but looking at where do we go next in education?
Mhm.
How do we improve? What new things can we do? What can we do differently to help
Okay.
move kids forward? And so I think that was a really important piece that led to my success because I was able to make the choice of where I went, and I think it served me well.
Well, very good, because you're right. Innovation does make a difference. Just because it used to be taught this way for many, many years, it doesn't always have to be taught the same way. And the fact that people change. I mean, what is it? Reading, writing, arithmetic, and the three R's and all that kind of stuff. And now it's not quite the same. Not that they're not important, but how you teach them has changed.
Correct. And we're really teaching now, especially in the lower grades, we're teaching for jobs that don't even exist right now. So we have to teach them to be thinkers, to be flexible. And the way that you had just mentioned didn't foster that type of thinking. And so again, that's why even from the get-go, when you're starting with your student teaching, you want to choose a place that's going to help you be forward thinking.
Makes complete sense. I mean, because um, in the environment and culture we're in, innovation makes a difference. Now, I don't know if at your grade level you have to deal with AI or not, but that's become the latest,
Mhm.
greatest problem
Right. Yeah.
that everyone is dealing with now.
Right.
And so, understanding that, the impact, those kinds of things. Like, has it entered the grade school yet? Or
It does. It starts to affect some things, not necessarily at the very, very lowest grades yet, but what we can do is it is actually can be used as a tool for the teacher to help generate new content for those students.
okay,
But each era has its own um, challenges with
mm,
technology and moving forward. And so at this time, as you mentioned, AI is the newest thing that we either need to learn to adapt to, or we would become kind of obsolete. So that's,
right.
again, goes back to that part of being forward thinking, being innovative. So you can try to fight the change, but it's not going to serve you well. So you have to learn to embrace it. And therefore, that's going to help you be the best educator you can be if you embrace it.
Very good. Now, last, are there any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to share with either current college students, college grads, etc.?
Um, I think, work hard is one of the biggest things. Um, and sometimes you hear negative things about the current generation, from older generations. But I think, especially with the newer generation coming up, they're going to be smarter than we are. They're going to have more opportunities than we've ever had. But you have to work hard to make sure that you can maximize the future and stay focused. You want to stay focused on, improving and moving forwards, and then be the best that you can be, you know. And then lastly, I think treat everyone with kindness and respect. I think that will serve you very well in the long term, because you never know, um, who you're working with or what they may become. And so you have the chance to influence that. So if you treat everybody with kindness and respect and compassion, it's going to go a long way.
Thank you so much. That is such a great way to end. Kindness and respect goes a long way on both ends, whether you're the teacher or professor or you're the student, because you're right. You never know how successful that person may become and what part you may have played in their success. And people give credit where credit is due, and they'll make sure people don't get credit. They don't think you were part of their way of being successful. So, thank you so much for your time and talent and information, because I know it will be very helpful for students to realize that you can transition and make a change and still be just as successful. And again, for listeners, thank you so much for listening to Conversations for College Success. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them to conversationsforcollegesuccess@hotmail.com. Look forward to talking to you again next Wednesday. Have a great day. Bye bye.